What's up, Boobheads? A little different camera angle. Welcome to another edition of Undrafted Block Party. I'm your boy, JB, with Undrafted Hoops. And I'm coming at you with this back end of a doubleheader here. If you watched our last show, we just covered the Washington Wizards. And what the Offseason Block Party is, during the offseason, we've got to cover all 30 teams. 30-minute breakdown. Depending on when the show was shot, it might be before the draft, during free agency, after a big trade. So make sure you check out our YouTube page, Undrafted Hoops, where we've been posting a lot of our content. We're also on the Hardcore Sports Network. So do me a huge favor and do them a huge favor. Smash the subscribe button, both on their page and our page on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. It's where we got our start, Undrafted Hoops, and we're also on Twitter now. So if you're a Twitter guy, not Facebook, make sure you check us out, Undrafted Hoops _. But let's dive right in. We've covered about 15 teams so far, but we haven't covered my team yet. And tonight we're going to do that. And if you don't know who my team is, unfortunately, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. We're looking at a team that has done nothing but disappoint me 37 years of my life. But they've also disappointed a good friend of mine, the Sasquatch himself, Tony G. Turn up the mic.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened. I can't. All of a sudden, I can't hear.
How's that? It's all right. Yo, sign off, sign back on. Try that.
Does it?
It's all right. Mad Wizard, come save Tony G.
Yeah, it's all good, man. What's up? I'm here.
What's up, brother?
Seems to be having a little difficulties. He can't hear us?
We'll get it figured out. Look, let's jump right into this team because they're a team that you clowned me all year for because you said they weren't going to get out of the second round, right? They didn't again. And this time, I expected them to. I didn't expect them to get out of the second round going into the playoffs because I didn't think we could beat Milwaukee or Boston. Then we played Boston, and we stole one in Boston, and I says, now we have a legitimate shot. And they did exactly what you said they were going to do. Disappoint me again. Now,
it's disappointing to see that.
It was, right? Like, was this the year you thought that they could do it? I mean, they had a 3-2 lead against Boston.
And they stole a game at Boston without Embiid.
They couldn't close it out at home again. And this is a team that's good at home. Like, I want to come out with a fucking bombshell question. And I already know your answer, but I want to talk about this for a minute. The bombshell question is Joel Embiid Batman?
Yeah. Yeah.
The MVP of the league, you think he's Batman?
100%. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy. I don't think it was 100% healthy in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but I also think that he looked a bit soft in the sense that he didn't look like he was trying to push through the injury. If you're going to play, then play. But if you're going to go out there and play and kind of look soft and be passive, it don't really make no sense to me. I mean, he was flopping all over the place. He was trying to draw fouls more than he was trying to actually make buckets. So,
well, one of the reasons why I don't think Joel Embiid is Batman, but I think he still can be, is because of coaching. Now, joy to the fucking world, the Sixers start my offseason off with firing Doc Rivers. And I couldn't be happier with him finally going. He's been a franchise babysitter for this team, along with Brett Brown. Joel Embiid has been coddled by back-to-back head coaches his entire career. Nick Nurse, on the other hand, will not fucking do that. Now, Tony G, can you hear me now?
Yep, audio's all good now.
Audio's as soon as Doc Rivers get fired, Tony G's audio works. Go figure. Coincidence? I think not.
I'll never forget that message you sent me a month or two ago.
What message?
Fire a doctor and hire a nurse.
Yes.
You
love it.
Manifested it.
Might have to make that T-shirt, bro. Make some bucks off of this, John.
Yes,
Tony,
sir.
we fired the doctor and hired the nurse. I'm happy you remember that. Out of all the shit I said, you remember that. But
because
Tony,
it's one of the few that came true.
Yeah, very few that came true. Very, very few that came true. Now, Tony, Nick Nurse has been one of our favorite coaches in the NBA the last couple seasons. I was surprised Toronto let him go. How excited are you to see a guy like Nick Nurse coaching a Joel Embiid type? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I mean, he looks like he's happy.
He's frozen in time. I'm dead. Look at that face, bro. He can't even speak.
I know. His happiness levels are I mean, he should be happy. You should be happy. Nick Nurse is a crazy coach.
I'm so happy that his screen stuck like that.
Yeah, what a perfect place.
I'm dying. Yo, so I honestly do. I think at times over Joel Embiid's career, he's been coddled. I think there's times where a coach has to tell a guy, go dominate the paint. If you can't dominate the paint, go fire up some threes, clear the space. And the way Doc Rivers handles his offense is like he did the same thing in the Clippers, same thing in Boston at time. It was a lot of ISO basketball. You can't win like that. Ball movement has to be there. And I think that Joel Embiid needs a guy that can coach his team. There's times where he needs the ball, and there's times where the ball movement has to be there. And I don't think that has been a primarily offensive strategy for Joel Embiid. Last season and this season don't really matter to me that much. Tony G, you back in the building? I don't know.
He unfroze him.
He's a speechless Sixers fan.
It says his microphone is muted in this thing, so he's probably got to hit the unmute.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Now, the thing that I want to touch on with the Sixers, Gary, we know the roster that they built last year. We've seen it, and it looks like it's going to be completely dismantled from the ground up. You got James Harden, who has now demanded a trade, and I know you're very upset with him. Tell me why you're upset with Harden, and then I want to dive into what I think the Sixers might end up doing with him.
I mean, it just gets old after a while. Like, I mean, everywhere Harden goes, they're almost there, and then they fail, and then he wants to leave so he can go somewhere else and almost get there and fail and want to leave. He's just not committed anywhere. He doesn't. I don't know. I just feel like he's one of the superstars who just doesn't take it serious as much as he should. I mean, we all give Kyrie all this slack, but I mean, Harden's just as bad. I mean, everywhere he goes, nobody's won a championship with him. He's going to end up having a collage of 10 uniforms when he retires, of jerseys that he's played in. Granted, he's going to make the All-Star team in all of them. Good on him, but he's going to end up with no championships unless he finally gets somewhere and rides the coattails of somebody, which is why he's like dying to go to the Clippers now, which to me still isn't going to work. He's going to ruin that team.
It can. I don't. So it's kind of weird. We're at a spot where Harden wants to go to like one or two teams and Lillard wants to go to one or two teams. And I don't know if the Sixers are going to make this happen. There's got to be – James Harden is not going to the Clippers without a third team. James Harden is not going to Phoenix without a third team. So the Sixers are in a weird predicament. doesn't want to go to that team, even though he's on an expiring contract. Like for me, he should open up his listen. If he wants to compete for a championship, he has an opportunity here. They had a 3-2 lead on the Celtics, and they could have been in the Eastern Conference Finals.
But he choked.
Yeah, look in the fucking mirror once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, take some responsibility for your actions. Yo, I love James Harden. I'm a big James Harden fan. He's clearly lost his step offensively, but his ability to create is still there. And I think he could be better with a different coach. Like I said, I'm not a Doc Rivers guy at all. I think Doc Rivers is.
But I'm one of those people that I don't necessarily think that he's lost too much of a step, if any step. I mean, look at how he led the team in certain games in the playoffs. He was dropping 40, winning games, but then Embiid came back and he was like, "Oh, I can take a step back."
Nah, but physically, he's not the same player. Like he's an all-time great scorer, Gary. So he's capable of doing that stuff. But if you're depending on that to win, you need to depend on the playmaking ability, James Harden.
I don't think you're depending on him for 40 a night, but I think that his his motivation lacks, at times. Like when Embiid's playing, I feel like there's nights where he just feels like I can take a step back and rely on him tonight. I don't have to play as much, as hard, as opposed to when Embiid is out and not playing and Harden has to play. He can show you what he's capable of. That's why I'm like, why can't he find a balance to where they can play that great together?
Yeah, and an ability for Maxey to still handle the basketball and work off ball, because at times Harden took that away from Maxey, and I don't know if that was in the Sixers' best interest this season, because Tyrese Maxey, when you see a lot of these trade rumors, the Sixers pretty much made him untouchable unless it's for a crazy deal. So I want to talk about a little bit about Maxey here and what I think the franchise, they're at a crossroads. Everybody's talking about James Harden, but the Sixers are at a crossroads. Josh puts in the screen here is Maxey an all-star. I don't think he's there yet, even with James Harden leaving. But what I want to talk about with Maxey is the Sixers now are looking at the next 4 years right now, because that's about the window they have with Joel Embiid, in my opinion. Anything beyond 4 more seasons is bonus time. But it's a 4-year window, right? A lot of the rumors about James Harden wanting out. Then you had some stuff about Tobias earlier in the offseason. Casual Sixers fans would trade me for a crumble cookie. Maybe insomnia cookies, but definitely not a crumble cookie. If you're from Philly, you know insomnia cookies are the shit. But what I'm getting at is the Sixers are at a financial freedom spot that they haven't been in Joel Embiid's prime. They have 2 contracts in James Harden and Tobias Harris that are both expiring. You're looking at $75 million coming off the books at the end of this season. Now, the thought process is trade Harden and get back a good return in terms of players. That was my mindset a week ago. Now that I'm starting to look at the salary cap and stuff along those lines, now it's almost to the point where maybe you trade Harden for as many draft assets as you can, and maybe an expiring or a young guy that you can maybe pair with Maxey, like a flyer on a young kid. But bring back draft picks for these guys. Don't let Tobias walk away at the end of the season. You're not going to re-sign him. I mean, this town, he's been paid $40 million this season. I'm starting to think, do you trade Harden and Tobias for assets, and then you go in the next free agency next year with $60 million in salary cap money?
I think that it seems to me that Daryl Morey seems to be like stuck on wanting to compete. He wants to win the championship. He wants to keep going that direction. I know that's probably not what you necessarily may agree with, but I mean, I don't think he's going to trade Harden unless he gets into a three-way type of trade that ends up with him getting Lillard or him getting
Yes.
another star type of player that keeps them relevant now.
Would you trade Tyrese Maxey and Tobias today if James Harden says I'll stay in Philly if you get Damian Lillard? Would you trade Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris for a Damian Lillard pack?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so that's where I'm at, Gary. I'm in this balancing scale, right? And I'm saying if
because Harris has the contract, the salary, to where it could match with a Lillard contract to make something like that happen.
Yeah, and Maxey's the prized possession, obviously, for Portland in that trade. So that's where I'm at. Like, can Daryl Morey convince Embiid to just trust the process, let this financial freedom come about? Let's get rid of Tobias and Harden and bring back some draft and maybe a young guy. Go out, you and Maxey, build this thing together. Or do you say Embiid wants to compete right now? Let's leverage the future to try and win with Joel Embiid and a guy like Damian Lillard. Now, Lillard and Embiid is dangerous, right? Like, that's a dangerous combo. Do you see a scenario? Doc hacked my audio. Maxey is a god. So Tony G's going the other route, I would say. I would say Tony G wants to take Maxey and his 3-point. I mean, when he came in the league, he was slashing like a wizard. Like I did there. Now he's firing the ball away. He shot like over 40-some% from 3 last year.
He shot 43%.
43%, bro. That's
20 points per game.
That's monstrous. For a guy that he did come off an injury midway through the season. I believe it was a foot injury.
And he still got James Harden over there jacking up all those threes next to him.
Yeah, and I think Maxey is a better off in the point guard spot. I do. I think I would love to see a willing slasher off the pick and roll with Embiid than Harden, who I was surprised that the pick and roll with those two wasn't more efficient because I don't think Harden had that step that he had. Or sometimes he was indecisive if I'm going to pull back or if I'm going to take it to the hole. And he was always like you said, looking for them calls. Now, I know I haven't really talked to you about this, but now that I had mentioned it to you about the Sixers free agency next season, does that seem like something that could possibly come about as opposed to maybe the other route? You think Morey really wants to compete right away?
Not right away. I think he wants to continue to compete like they've been for the past couple of years. I mean, you might not agree with this, what I'm going to say, but I think if they're at a point where they want to start moving pieces and you want to move Harden, I say you blow the whole thing up and you build around Maxey and you try and get a lot of assets and just rebuild in general. I'm not saying trade Embiid. I wouldn't want to trade Embiid, but I wouldn't be surprised that if they pieces, Embiid wants to be traded.
Now, Gary, you say this is what I'm trying to say. Like this year could be a flyer for the Sixers because next year they are going to blow it all up. They only have 3 guys under salary next year. They have Embiid. Obviously, Maxey's getting an extension, but they're holding off because it gives them some more flexible salary if they wait till he's getting a max contract. It isn't even a question. They have Jaden Springer, their rookie from last year, who looks like he's going to be a baller for them off the bench. Very defensive oriented 2-guard, just not a great shooter. And they got PJ Tucker. I think he has a player option. So he's only getting $11 million. So if it doesn't work out for them this season, I mean, you might just see PJ Tucker walk and go take like $8 million somewhere to try and win again. So, I mean, you're either going to blow it up right now or blow it up next season because next year, I mean, it's the Wild Wild West. They got a whole roster to refill. You know what I'm
Yeah, but
saying?
blowing it up next season is a completely different return. Blowing it up in the offseason, you risk no return on certain players. If you blow it up now, you can gain a lot of return. You know what I mean?
Like that's what I'm agreeing with you kind of in a different sense. Like,
Yeah.
yes, get rid of Harden, get rid of Tobias, stock load draft assets, and package all that shit together and go get somebody. Because for the first time, you'll be able to bring back salary because you have an open roster next season. You have a clean slate. And you got a brand new head coach. People are
going to want to play with Embiid.
Yes. You have a brand new head coach. I think, honestly, I can't believe I'm trusting this process again. But you can't you're never going to win 30 games with Joel Embiid. You're always going to win 40-some games. The dude is that good. So I just think you press reset right now, load up, and then next season go gung-ho. I was completely different. And at first I was like, just trade Maxey off and go get Damian Lillard. The only way I would say do that is if Joel Embiid comes in and says, yo, go get this dude. I need him. I want to win, blah, blah, blah. But now as the offseason progresses, I'm going in the other direction. The one guy I want to touch on for the Sixers is DeAnthony Melton. He's playing for a contract next season. Played great.
Huge playoff games.
Yeah. The dude's all natural, like a two-way player. He's not a star by any means, but he's a Nick Nurse player.
Yeah.
And that's big for me. He's the guy that Nick Nurse is going to depend on to make some plays on both ends. Plus, I think Jaden Springer's going to pick up a lot of good habits from him.
And there's a lot of games where he was just like the spark plug right off the bench. I remember there was games against Brooklyn in the first round where you guys started slow. Next thing you know, Melton comes in the game. He's 3 for 3 from 3 in a minute and a half.
Yep.
You know, he was playing pretty well, I thought. I think he shot 39% this year. Philly was like the number 2 or number 3 3-point shooting team in the NBA.
I also wouldn't be surprised to see him move PJ Tucker. I know Embiid really wanted him last season, but he's another guy.
They got quite the doggish second unit. You know, if you got PJ Tucker playing with Pat Bev, that's an interesting little defensive unit. Slow people down.
Shit though, they got to play good defense. They ain't score on nobody.
Yeah.
I did like the Pat Bev signing and Mo Bamba's whatever. But
one day may turn out. I'm glad they kept Paul Reed.
Yeah, I didn't understand keeping Paul Reed if you went out and got Bamba and then re-signed Harrell. I think they were just filling out the bottom of their roster. Truthfully, I'm not as optimistic about this team because I really think that they are questionable. They aren't competing for a title with this roster. Boston got better. Milwaukee will be better. Miami Heat were still in question. Thought the Cavs got better. Thought the Knicks got better. I think the Hawks the Hawks are still a question mark for me.
The Eastern Conference currently relies on where Lillard goes.
Yes.
If he goes to Miami, Philly's probably going to slide to like 6th in the East.
Ooh,
if he goes to Philly, like 6th. That's not the play.
Can they go to 7? Can they go to 7?
I mean, yeah, they could probably slide to 7, I think. I'm not saying that Philly's roster is guaranteed to be top 3 roster.
That's a good number, Gary. 6 is good.
Yeah, think about 6 because, like you said, that would put Miami ahead of them, Milwaukee ahead of them, Boston ahead of them, the Knicks probably still right there. You never know. Cleveland is right there. You never know. So that puts you guys around 6. And then depending on if any teams break out and turn out to be even better.
Like
Never know what Brooklyn's going to do.
No, and Brooklyn, Brooklyn traded everybody off. I mean, obviously it was the big story. They got rid of Harden and Kyrie and KD, but they got some pieces, and they also improved slightly improved, but they definitely went out and improved. They got some more young players, and they're going to be a hungry-ass team. Defensively well, they gave the Sixers a little bit of trouble. They had no chance of losing to Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's a real team. And
you never know with Chicago.
Yeah.
They're not my favorite team, but when you got the guys they got, they can compete.
Absolutely, especially on a night-in, night-out basis. Look, and even like Tony had mentioned on the last show about the in-season tournament.
Well, Indiana.
Look, egos are in play. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants all the eyes on them. So the in-season tournament is a home run, in my opinion, because it takes meaningless Game 7 regular season game on a Tuesday night in November, and it says, if you win, you got a chance to go to Vegas, and the whole world's going to be watching. The first ever NBA Cup. Teams are going to be gunning for the Sixers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can see a weak spot. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like you said, it makes a couple teams, like Tony was saying too, it gives a couple younger teams the incentive to really play out, show out. So I don't know. It's funny you mentioned the 6th seed for the Sixers, because I actually wasn't even thinking about it yet, because I'm so caught up in all the rumors surrounding the team and what direction that they're headed. They've been relatively quiet too. Haven't really said much, except that everybody says Daryl Morey wants the world for James Harden. I mean, ask for it. I mean, what do they think? He's not just going to give him away because he asked for a trade. He's still going to try, and what a good GM does is try to get max value. So that's what he's trying to do. Look, he's in no rush to trade him. He's under contract. He's going to play. He hasn't indicated that he won't play, even though I don't see a scenario where they go into the regular season.
I mean, who knows with James Harden? He'd be flip-flopping so much, but yeah, I agree. I don't think that they go into the regular season with him on the opening night roster.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way. I don't know. Honestly,
maybe they'll trade him to Brooklyn. They'll bring Simmons back.
Shut up, Gary. Don't get smart. You've been holding that in this whole show, haven't you?
You don't want the professional Call of Duty player?
No, I don't. Look, this is the one positive I can take. A few years ago, we had Ben Simmons on a max contract. We had Al Horford on a 4-year, $100 million deal. We had Tobias Harris making more money than Kevin Durant. Next season, we don't have any of them problems. So if I just properly lower my expectations for this team and kind of think a short-term, big picture, they're not in a complete disaster. Where, like, initially I was like, what the fuck is this team doing? Now I'm kind of like, well, maybe that the front office took a step back and said, we're not handcuffed here. We're only handcuffed as if Joel Embiid says it's win or bust for me. And I don't think we're at – Embiid loves Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree. Him saying what he said, the quote was taken way out of context. He was just saying he's hungry for a championship. He doesn't care where he is to get it.
Absolutely.
He wasn't saying, get me out of here.
Yeah. So I'm totally on board. I don't think there was any weight to that statement.
What do you think about a deal with Lillard and Harden, right? Where somehow Harden gets shipped to the Clippers, he gets his way. Lillard gets shipped to Miami, he gets his way. And then you guys are in the mix somehow, and you guys end up with, like, Tyler Herro.
I'll jump off the Ben Franklin bridge. I don't want You can't put Hero with Maxey. You can't do it. They'll get smoked defensively.
Yeah.
I think the Tyler Hero stuff, I think he won 6-man of the year. He's a very good offensive player.
Is he like a modern day JJ?
That's a good comparison. I think he's better with the ball in his hands. But yeah, like I don't know what his ceiling is. If he gets any better, I'll be surprised. Like I think he's kind of this is the type of guy you're going to get. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't know.
I've kind of been in similar value. I've been on a similar level with you there. Like I feel like Harrow, 20, 21 points per game a night guy is like where he's peaking.
Yeah,
Unless he becomes the star of a bad team.
Yeah, but like even if you think, yeah, I agree with you there, Gary. Even if you think about it, I mean, he's in a perfect spot. Jimmy Butler doesn't like to go off every night. Bam Adebayo is a defensive presence. Like he should score 20 a night because he's on a team where he has that opportunity. Like I think if you put him on a team where if you're expecting more than that from him, especially on the defensive end, he's getting gashed. And when people were saying Lillard to Miami or James Harden to the Clippers, I'm like, what is either of the teams trading off to get a guy of that caliber? I don't know. I don't think either of them have it. I think you're going to need a team like Phoenix or OKC or maybe Chicago get in the mix because
with Phoenix, it just wouldn't make sense to me. Like, obviously, it would make sense in terms of it's an all-star team to put together, but like, there's a salary cap, and I don't get like Bradley Beal's making like $56 million.
Okay.
Durant's making like $52 million. There's like $110 million right there. Plus, you got Booker who's making like $50 million. So how are you like? In what way do you fit another $40 million contract in there? Plus,
well, so James Harden makes 35. DeAndre Ayton makes 27, maybe. And they just traded Cameron Payne, so it makes it a lot harder now. But they could have flipped Ayton to the Sixers, and the Sixers could have packaged Ayton to a third team. That was like one of the rumors swirling. I mean, how the NBA salary cap works is there's 2 luxury tax thresholds.
Yeah, I know
if Phoenix
that.
just said, fuck it, we just don't give a fuck. We're just going to try to win. You know, they got a new owner. Matt, I think his name's Ishida.
Yeah, he got famous at in the playoff game when he flopped.
Michigan State, Michigan State guy.
You know who I don't know if you watched a lot of the summer league, but getting back to the Sixers. There's a guy that they had that I was a really big fan of in college, Terquavian Smith. He played at North Carolina State last year. He's a really good offensive player. He's a guard, shoots a lot. I noticed him in the summer league this year. He had a couple games where he had like 27, 25. Like he was putting up really good games. So hopefully they hold on to him and they develop him and maybe he'll be a part of the future too. He fits the style that you guys play. You know, he's a gritty player, but he loves to shoot. Big time shooter. Yeah,
well, I know that's a guy Tony G liked too. So, and I think with Jaden Springer coming up to the actual roster, that opens up a slot on our G League team too. So it could be a guy that they develop. So I'm actually happy you put him on my radar because I really haven't. I'll make sure I definitely dive into that and watch some of his highlights.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'll like him a lot, to be honest.
Let's talk about this season real quick. The 76ers won
54-28.
54-28, third in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to say they win sub 50 games. I'm going to say they win in that 48 range this year. And I think that they go – I like what you said. I think they're a 6 seed. If they're a play-in team, that means they blew up the whole roster. If they come back with at least Tobias Harris and Maxey and all, they're going to be a play. They're going to be a 5 or 6 seed most likely. They got the MVP of the league. Where are you putting this team? Are you kind of where we've been talking about them?
I think if they go into the season with the roster, well, they're not going in with the season with the roster as is.
No way.
So, I mean, this is one of those teams that's so hard to guess because you're guessing in semi-blindly. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get rid of Harden without getting someone valuable. I'll say, yeah, about five or six is where they'll be. But I think they have a ceiling of getting up to like 3, maybe number 2 in the East, depending on if
You
they.
might have to, you might have to talk me off the bridge this year, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Got to return the favor. I've talked you off your Wizards bridge a few times, so I need you to. You might have to. I might have to cash in on a few favors from me this whole season. I mean, this regular season.
I'll do my best. But I personally feel like the East is like a 2-team race.
Oh yeah.
People might think that there's like 4 or 5 teams. I think it's 2 teams.
Boston, Milwaukee.
That's it. But Boston,
Yeah,
I think they got a slight edge. That team looks crazy good.
I always say fuck the Celtics, but Porzingis was
Depending on health.
Well, yeah, that's every team. I mean, that's every team now. That's every team now. I like the shot. I like the Trollman shot. Depending on health. Depending on health. Well, the Sixers, I mean, Joel Embiid's been injury ridden for parts of his career. So
was Harden.
But what I'm getting at is with the Sixers, can you afford to waste a season and build for next season? I don't know. It's interesting. I think the Sixers are in the tough spot, but I'm hoping they go my route instead of going the other route. So we'll see. Gary, I'm going to sign you off. Anything you wanted to add with the Sixers, or we part ways?
No, I mean, we're similar right here. I love this. I love that they hired Nick Nurse. I think that he's much better with player development. You know, he coaches good defense. He coaches a lot of the fundamentals, the important parts of the game. There's a lot more faith in him than there is with Doc Rivers. Lost all faith in the city, the team. They just expect him to choke. You got a lot to look forward to. We just got to see what they get for Harden, and then we'll go from there. Then we'll have a true blueprint on what we get to build with your boys there in Philadelphia. But, I mean, it was great talking with you tonight, man. Philly's going to be all right this year. Future will be fun.
Listen, me and Gary just did it back-to-back. So if you like the Sixers show, make sure you go back and watch our Wizards show. Gary's a diehard Wizards guy, so why we call him the Mad Wizard. I appreciate you, brother. You know this. So make sure if you like other teams, like if you're like me and I know you're just a hoop head and you like talking about, San Antonio Spurs in July, go back and check out one of our videos, Detroit Pistons in July. We might not talk about them in December, so we might as well talk about them now. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you go to our YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Please share it out. If you gain 1 or 2 followers for us, bro, I promise you it's much appreciated. We're also on Facebook, Undrafted Hoops, where we got our start. It's packed with news, trades, comparisons, just NBA talk. That's all we push. We ain't spinning a narrative. We're just talking hoops. It's so refreshing sometimes where everybody just jumps in the comments and wants to just spread their narrative instead of let's just talk about the players, man. Let's just talk about different teams. Even if you ain't a fan of a certain team or, if you're a diehard Sixers fan like me, I don't give a shit. I'll talk about all 30. That's just the way I am. So I wish my man Tony G could have came on. I mean, of all the shows you have technical problems, you picked the fucking Sixers. What is wrong? Come on, bro. Be better than that. It's your boy JB from Undrafted Hoops signing out. Peace. Fuck the Celtics, boy.